Priyanka Paul. I'm an illustrator and writer and a silly little jester boy.
Hello, my name is Alicia Souza and I'm an illustrator based out of Bangalore. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So you remember one of the first illustrations you ever did that you were really proud of?
Oh my God, yes, I do. It's this piece called From the Margins. And it's also a poem I wrote where I'm talking about how it feels to grow up in a society where you're oppressed by caste and how everything that is taught to you just revolves around a narrative that doesn't feel like you can relate to, right? All of society is designed by Savarna people or for Savarna people, so you feel really like, where do I fit in? And also, I talk about in this poem how in school or colleges, especially when people started talking about Black Lives Matter, I went to St. Xavier's and I had like some of the most elite people in the city in that college, and they were like talking about social justice in the sense where they talk about race, but completely oblivious to caste, right? Not even like a little bit of sense of understanding of your own history of where you're from. So I think I addressed that in that piece, and I drew it out as well. And I really love it. To this day, I think it's my favorite piece of work I've made. I've drawn people look like a little like sci-fi, in a sci-fi way, like or futuristic kind of way. And the person who the character I've drawn is wearing a jacket which has like a Baba Sahib print on it. Okay. So I think that was really cool for me. Yeah.
Sounds cool. Okay. Coming to the first illustration, I always think of the first illustration I ever remember. But that's like when I was a child and drew we had like this partition made of wood, and I drew this it's what I thought was a scooter. I'm sure it was not a scooter. Well, but I was so proud of it. But I don't recall being so proud of a drawing since then, because now everything is for use. So I never look back. I'm always looking at, it could have been this, the color palette should have been this, it should have been printed like this. So there's always been things I would have changed once I've done a drawing. But like then it was just pure like love of drawing, and I was so small, like I literally was in kindergarten. So yeah, there was no outcome from that drawing. It was rubbed off.
But you felt proud.
I was proud. Yeah.
What are your favorite tools to use for your illustration work?
Ooh, I used to draw on paper a lot more. It's become more digital, so it's a bit, I can't say boring, but it's just become more, it's time friendly. So I end up just drawing digitally. So my process is now digitally on the iPad, and then take it on the desktop and then use Photoshop to color.
Right.
That is the fastest way I can draw and work. And it doesn't even need to be both of them, but that's just generally how I like it. But yeah, that's mine. What's yours?
It's definitely the iPad now, but I started drawing like on a Galaxy Note 2 with a stylus. So that's how it was a really small screen.
Oh, you started when you started?
Yeah, when I started, which is like now 7 years ago. Yeah. Back then, my mom used to have her old phone that she wasn't using, so I took it and I learned to draw on that.
Yeah.
And I made like almost 2 to 3 years of my work on that phone, which I thought was pretty genius of me to do. That is pretty genius. Because people weren't exploring it that much at that time. Then I got an iPad, and obviously there is no better tool than that. So I would say my iPad. I try to doodle sometimes in my notebooks, but like...
Oh, you don't do traditional, like on paper?
I do. But some of them I like utilize for like Instagram posts. Mostly just that. Okay. Yeah, I want to paint more, but it's just so much work, like buy a canvas, get that done. But it's there. Someday I will paint. But now it's just mostly just my iPad. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Did you ever have any doubts about whether you could make a career out of being an illustrator or graphic designer?
I am still unsure. I constantly tell people is that, all this influencer things I'm doing, like I have to do it because the art making doesn't pay all that much. Like I have to do like 10 different things to really support the art career. So I can let the artist be in the bio. I have to do like 10 other things. It's never just like my illustrations always accompanied by either something I've written.
Right.
Or I'm also like doing some modeling here and there. I don't like using the word, but it's often attached to me that I'm an activist. So I'm constantly doing a lot of things. And sometimes I really wish I could just be an artist.
Do you though? Don't you think the others support it in a way?
They definitely do. And it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't do all of those things. And my art wouldn't be what it was if I didn't do all those things. But sometimes I'm like, it would be so much less complicated.
So less tiring.
This is also one thing. I'm in such complete absolute awe of you. Every year I get your diary and it comes in the most gorgeous
you.
box. One day when I ever like get to the point where I can make things like you do, I will have found nirvana.
By the way, you can 100% do it in like in a second.
I cannot run a business. Every year I make merch and every year I'm in loss for making that merch and trying to sell it. I get like frazzled because of it. And then I'm always like going, I'm like, I'm an artist. I can't do business. I don't do this. And it's like, who is going to do for you then?
Okay, I have to tell you, there's also a team that handles, say, logistics. It was the point where I was planning when I just started, and literally all the stuff was under my bed. I used to call the courier guy to come to my house to pick up the orders, and it got so much. And that's when I met my partner, who runs like my business part of it. It does get overwhelming. I can't say it doesn't, because when you're doing freelancing, at least for me, because I'm doing freelancing and the business, it does take a toll. So now I do both, but I have someone to handle the real meat of the business at least. So yeah.
If someone is listening to this and wants to run my business, please hit me up.
But you have to make like a lot of products
for
it to be sustainable. So it's
things.
But I love it. Oh my god, I love.
Just the joy of just making a thing is the only thing that keeps me alive.
Yeah, it really is.
It's because, as I said, every year I make something and I go into loss. But I don't know how to explain, like, but I got joy. I invested in my work.
Oh my god, that is true.
I wanted to be seen in this capacity.
Yeah.
Like, I have to value my work to that extent for me to put it out. And I think that's important. Like, along the way, I will figure out how, like, capitalism
Can I tell you, like, the very boring part of it?
Yeah.
You kind of work backwards. You figure out the distribution, how you're going to sell it.
Yeah.
And then you work on inventory of how much you will get. And then don't do the making last, because that's very sad. While you're doing all this calculation, you do the making.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you ever created something that you regretted?
Ooh. Oh. I did not expect that one. Oh. No. You?
In a very, like, complicated way. Not, like, fully regretted, but, like, the first piece of work I made that went really viral was called, like, the Goddess series.
Okay, I think I've seen this.
Yeah,
I would have seen
that
this.
was the main thing that, like, started off my illustrator career, because
Right.
it went, like, viral everywhere.
Right.
And I always was like, I'm never going to make anything that, like, goes as viral. And I don't think I have. So what the piece is that I've reimagined goddesses from different cultures if they were modern day women.
Right.
And one of those women is the goddess Kali.
I remember that.
I then evolved to become an anti-caste activist of sorts. My first piece being this is kind of in my brain, like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And, like, in a way, it does make sense, because, like, all ancient deities in India come in some form, like, they're indigenous deities.
Yes,
They've been appropriated, or different stories have different versions of them. So irrespective, I got so much hate for that.
I mean, yeah.
So I'm like, I don't really regret it. Like, the point was put through.
Right.
I don't think I have any regrets.
Sorry, can I go back to another question and ask, why do you not want to be called an activist? You mentioned that earlier.
I don't not want to be called an activist. I think there are much more important people on ground who are doing much more important work, whose work should be highlighted in whatever fields I'm talking about. Yeah. I am an artist. All of my activism is shows through my work.
Yeah.
Or, like, how I utilize social media, whether it be for organizing or fundraising. I'm okay with being activist, but then it gets into, like, because I exist in the city, I exist on this particular space on social media, will be highlighted much more than people who are doing work on ground.
Right.
And I don't want that spotlight. I'm very okay with being like, I'm not an activist, I'm an artist. I say what I know about the world. I put my thoughts out through my art, and I will share with you what I think and perceive about the world and how I navigate my life.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to be like, I know best.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, but you are an activist through art.
People get angry. They're just like, why is there focus on this person, not this person? And I'm just like, I didn't decide that.
Yeah. Also,
and I will do as much to not be part of that if you don't want me in that spotlight.
I don't think there's a scale for that anyway. Like, why is there a scale? Anyway. Okay. Next one. Okay. What's one of the biggest misconception about the work you do? Oh, this is a nice one.
Oh my God. There's a constantly, like, misconceptions about what I do. You go. What do you think is the misconception?
Everyone just thinks I'm drawing all day, which is literally 30% of what I do. Which is 30 to 40 at the most.
I think I don't get viewed enough as an artist. Sometimes.
What?
And more is just like some troublemaker on the internet. I don't know
Okay.
if people really know, like, the
That
art
you're-
is the number one job that I do.
Artist and activist, please mention.
Yes. I'm a multi-hyphenate, honestly. There's
Absolutely.
such few things I don't do.
Okay.
Like business.
You're clearly doing it.
I'm
Just
trying.
not-
I'm
yeah.
really trying.
You just need that other hand. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, someone to believe in me. Honestly,
Oh, everyone believes in you. Stop it. You're so good. I'm being genuine. I think your work is amazing. And firstly, when you say you're an activist, I think you're like such an ultimate activist in what you do. Because you're going beyond storytelling, right? You say you reimagine the world. You can draw things that, in a way, I guess it's editorial. That's the only way I can put it as an illustrator, because you're talking about something that's happening, but in a way that you cannot explain in everyday life. So you draw these versions out, and it's amazing, because especially if someone like me, I don't touch, by the way, anything touchy, and I'm like, oh, I want, like, so I'm the opposite spectrum. I just basically do commercial work. And so, like, when I see someone like you, I'm like, you're making a difference, and you're saying things that need to be said.
I think you're making a difference too, Alicia. Your work puts like happiness into the day. Like, I see your illustration, I just feel like happy. Like, what kind of support do you think artists like yourself need in your industry?
We're not. Just being overtly positive, I think, firstly, this is from when I started, which is, when you say 7 years, I'm like, oh, you're a baby. So when I started 13 years ago, like what it's come to now, I feel like there's so much. So I'm always like, oh, it's getting so much better. So when I think of what can be there, there's of course so much that can be there, but there's so much now. Not only when I say industry, I mean just with technology, how much technology there is, how much resources there are for someone who's just starting out. Like I remember when I started just learning how to use Photoshop, there was no tutorials. Like it was just, you had to read the document of how to use. It was so much harder, but now I can Google anything, or I can like check on YouTube, and that's nuts. Starting off, because it's never hard for anyone. It's never easy for anyone. The one thing I'm very appreciative is that my parents never said, you should really get out of this industry. I think that is something just personally, if people are getting into, parents could, and because I have a child now, like, just being there as moral support. You don't have to do anything else. Moral support. They take care of themselves. I feel like that's what I had, so I had to make it work. So just that moral support was groundbreakingly useful. Don't say anything negative, just support. That's all you need, or at least not talk negatively about it. Like, you're never going to make that would be so harsh. Like if I think about it, because it's already so hard starting in a creative field in general in the world, and then hard in India, and you have to look at different avenues. Like you said, it's not an industry thing, it's more like a personal thing, I guess. Like in the industry, I feel like people are good now. I mean, even when it comes to clients, I feel like, maybe I've just gotten so lucky that I've not had like annoying clients. They've all been so nice. But maybe giving some slack, treating artists like they actually are under pressure for delivery, for everything from start to finish, respecting that they are very much professionals, and giving them that leeway to do their job. I feel like that is happening now, though. So I can't say I wish, but I mean, I would be glad to see it happen a little more.
I feel like abroad, artists, there are agencies for artists that sign up artists, like visual artists like us. They'll go and pitch you. That would be great, and someone should really like start one. Because
I thought of it.
Yeah, and then there's someone who could come in and handle like the projects you're getting in, merchandising, even like talk, like public speaking in any way, because as an artist, if you have an audience that way and you're speaking, all of that to be managed by an agency would just take off so much of the pressure of having to handle so many things. I feel like, and I think just a general attitude towards artists. Like I feel in India, you get paid much lesser than what is the base rate in the US.
Of course,
And I'm so overjoyed every time I get like a foreign client. Because automatically they're paying you in dollars anyway, but they're paying you more, and they come in with a respect for your work where you're not disposable. I often will find that Indian clients don't value you or don't even see your work for art. Everything is now just like content. You need to get paid, but then at the cost of like your work being demeaned.
That's true. You're right. A lot of work, I feel like in general now, has become content though. Work that used to come out before was like, let's do art for like editorials or let's do art for something. But now a lot of it is used for, I think because the online space is is just content.
Yeah,
so
I
I just think of it as evolution, to be honest, at this
Yeah.
point. Maybe also, I'm not too picky about it because I don't consider myself artisty as much as just illustrator.
It would be really interesting to see like art moving away from social media. Where I mean like
Wow.
galleries, exhibitions, installations, how you interact with like public spaces and more getting out there,
Yeah.
zines. I feel like there needs to be more like engagement and enthusiasm
true.
for things like that. Like I think this is happening a little bit in Mumbai.
It is. I know the zine fest.
Yeah, all
Oh
of
my
that
goodness,
happens.
yeah.
And also like I think the art gallery space has such a like rank of elitism, and I think that needs to be broken, and I think in some ways it is being broken down.
That's one thing I feel like that's going down as opposed to going up. Or maybe the online space is growing so fast and the other space is really almost stagnant but growing so slowly. So it feels like it's not growing as much. But you're absolutely right. Sadly, even physical spaces are ended up being like content spaces. But I don't know if that's just the way the world is going. Again, I'm very old. I'm not sure whether it's just me or... Okay. What's one of the worst creative blocks you've ever had? What happened and how did you get past it?
Oh my god, I feel like I'm still going
Oh, no.
like through it a little bit. So I grew up on the internet. I became who I am on the internet. So as much as I don't like to admit it, a lot of part of mine is like fixated on the validation I got from the internet. And let's say like 3 years ago something happened, people get cancelled on the internet.
man.
People get like, a lot of that happened. A lot of like getting hate on the internet. And I don't care. You can come at me and I'm gonna still be standing here. I'm more of like this whole figure. Like everyone is like, more power to you.
Yeah.
So much power to you. And I'm just
true.
like, yeah, great, but like it's not real. Like at the end of the day, when I'm suffering, when the collective mass of all of that abuse on the internet comes and sits with you, no one is there.
Of course,
No one is more power to you. No one's offering you a job when all you've done is try to be activist. And people don't like that. That doesn't sell. Because people don't want to talk about difficult things. That really doesn't sell. So when that happens, you don't have anyone. I can feel really lonely. I have often on the internet been really vulnerable. I share like about my life, horrible things that have happened to me, how I've overcome them. It felt like an audience is consuming you. Like you're being eaten up from the inside and no one actually cares about you unless they can just like consume your trauma and you can present it to them on a platter. Like I used to really be very open on my stories, tell people about everything in my life, and I stopped doing that because it felt like people were such voyeurs in my life. They saw small details and they would twist it into make like, yeah, but you did this. I was just like, wow, that makes no sense. That was just like a minute detail I shared that you twisted into some agenda. And you're not a person I will ever know. We are not people who will ever cross paths in this life. You are just seeing me on a screen. I am not a real person to you, and you have established that. And I think sometimes you have to contend with that idea that to so many people you're not a real person,
you're
and
not
how
human.
you are still real to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that hit me in the last 3 years, and I've become a lot more. Haven't been as like I can't be my honest self, and for me my art was always like about being the most authentic, most honest self I can be, and I don't get to be that, but I'm like working through it. So like hopefully soon.
Oh man, these are strong things you talk about, right? So I feel like that comes always with a lot of people with pitchforks sometimes, and you know, so yeah, I completely understand. I definitely am not as brave as you. Like I said, I don't touch scary things, so it might come out of cowardice, honestly.
No,
but also
it's honestly no, protect yourself. I wish like when I was younger, someone told me like, yo, stop doing that. It's not going to help you. It's going to come back.
But that's what your art is, right? Like,
yeah, it is.
I feel like, I mean, for me, always it's been the opposite. I've only drawn like when I was happy. So it just comes across like, like, you know, nothing ever goes wrong in my life, which obviously it cannot happen. And no one's life is like perfect. You can't really be 100% authentic because there's some parts you'll never be able to put out online. There's so many parts you can't put out online also.
Yeah.
So yeah, but what you do is like insane. It's brave and it's nuts. And do you have a plan of how to get past it?
I'm trying. I'm just trying to like put out whatever. So I'm also have like a fear of perfectionism for sure. Like,
do you?
Yeah, definitely. If it's not hitting, I don't want to put it out. So I have to like. That's why my work is so detailed. It's because I relentlessly like. I'm like every new piece more detail. If it's not more detailed, you're just a bad
Wow.
artist. And
Oh,
it's not,
what?
it's toxic.
Oh my
But it
goodness.
maintains like a level of like excellence for me, which I'm trying to overcome because I'm just like, it's okay if it's not that great, put it out.
Wow, you're gonna hate the merchandise because we work with such timelines now
Right.
that if you don't get it out on time, you're missing the whole year.
Right.
And it's the opposite where I'm like, I have to be like, it's fine.
Yes.
Like it's come to that point where I'm like, the color's not right. Next time will be better. And it just goes.
Right.
Yeah, it's the opposite with
Yeah,
that.
I'm trying to do that. I'm also like trying to get like faster at drawing and like it's actually happening. Like every month I feel like I'm faster. I really love like getting faster because you realize something that took you 3 days now takes you 1 day.
Yeah, that
It
is
feels
true.
like-
I feel like shortcuts are my
Yeah.
my like guns blazing. But that only happens on desktop. That's why I moved from the iPad to desktop.
Right. I hate using a computer.
Oh, maybe because I only use the computer for so long.
Right.
So I started off with coloring with a mouse, which is the most annoying thing in the
Yeah,
world.
that seems
and
difficult.
then then progressing. Anyway. Okay.
What piece of merchandise have you made that sparks joy for you?
I made an outfit for my son's second birthday, and it was just a jumper, and it was all bananas because he's obsessed with bananas. That really made me so happy that I can do it on a whim, that I can make a product on a
Wow.
whim. Because it came out exactly how I imagined it. And it even looked exactly like how I imagined it on him. So it was like, that was possibly my favorite. And very quick.
I've seen it. It's very cute. I think for me, it would be... I recently made my puzzle in
Your puzzle is amazing. Oh my
piece
goodness.
that I designed for Art and Activist Festival in Vienna.
Mm-hmm.
And the piece is called The End... Party at the End of Gender Normativity. And it's like my imagination of a world where gender doesn't exist, where we're just like freely existing.
Yeah.
And it's like my most detailed piece.
It is so deep, but that's
It's
why
so
it's
detailed,
perfect.
it gives you a headache to look at it. So I made it into a puzzle, and I'm really proud of that. But also before that, I once designed like a shirt which had like my design on one side. I remember it took 3 months to get that made because like the warehouse got flooded once, and they were like, this ink is not working. And I only had like so little money that I only made like 40 of those, like very limited edition. But yeah, I really want to make clothes like one day.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think social media has helped you, hindered you, or traumatized you? And in what ways? Ooh.
All three.
I feel like that is the
All
general
three.
answer for everyone. Okay. Start with help.
Start with help. I mean, as I said, I've like
Yup.
I grew up on the internet. The internet is like where I found my voice, where like everything. Like I'm Instagram based.
Okay.
And I've loved like social media for like so long.
Okay.
Until it like, people form weird parasocial relationships with you, and like it all becomes too much, starts feeling too real. Like because on social media you can really like feel the hate, and it
Yeah.
can in some moments feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
When it's really not.
Yeah.
You get out of that bubble, it doesn't
it's
feel
gone,
like
yeah.
that. So I think what I've been working towards in life is having like a general balance of what
Yeah.
social media is. Also like, as I said before, I used to be really vulnerable and make it very personal.
Yeah,
There was no
yeah.
boundary between what's work and what's my life. So yeah, I think constantly having to like make that balance and not prioritize social media
Right.
the
okay.
way like you're just, that's not everything. That doesn't
Yes.
define who you are. People are telling you isn't
Yeah, of
who you
course.
really are. So yeah, that.
Okay. Has it traumatized you? Yeah, I would.
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
So much.
Has it hindered you?
Yeah, I mean, in the way that I don't feel like I'm as vulnerable, or also because in the way that the algorithm,
Yeah.
the bloody algorithm, yeah, it just wants a certain kind of thing, and that's
Yeah.
not the kind of thing I want to personally actually be putting out.
Right.
But if I don't, it
You're punished
punishes
for
you,
it.
right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
no likes.
Of course, 100%. I cannot say it has not helped me. It literally made my career. The algorithm is a pain in the bum. I have to say that I always think of it as not to sound like over positive, but I really, if something sounds very challenging, I'm like, you know what, maybe I should, it's keeping me on my toes. Like even with reels, I cannot stand doing them, but I'm like, maybe it's time I learn something new. Maybe that's what it is. I think the thing with being an artist is, in these days, you cannot get away with, not you can't get away, it's much harder to only be, say, I'm going to be only an illustrator and I'm going to not do anything else. I feel like now we have to do like 100 or multifaceted things. And same with income. You can usually not only do, I'm going to only do illustration. And you can, but it's just harder. Or it just depends on the type of illustrations you do and all that stuff. But you always have to do, like, say, you have to do some content work. You have to do some, like, merchandise. So you have to have so many streams and be conscious of doing so many streams. It's not hindered, but it's just challenging. What was the last one? Traumatized. Yeah, not trauma, but it is saddening a bit, where you feel like, I've given 10 years, say, on Insta, and suddenly they're like, okay, now we're just taking away 90% of the people who can see your stuff.
Oh my God.
But thanks again. But so that is a little hard. But again, like I see this is a platform that I always think of it as, I think of it the other way around. Like, I've given something for so long and they're taking it back now. So I don't have it now. Now what I'm going to do with the 10% that I do have, I'm just being positive about it. But I just try to look on the bright side of it. But it's extremely a bit heart-wrenching, honestly. But yeah, do what I can.
What is the one thing you wish you could do but are afraid to?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, when you say take out of social media, that is what I feel like I want to do so desperately. But I'm too afraid because, firstly, time investment. I don't think I have the time to do it. Money, of course. Like, say if I want to have an exhibition, that's going to take money and time, which I don't have. And I cannot invest. And I'm too scared to invest also, because I'm like, oh, what if I stop doing projects and suddenly it never comes in again? So you're always on that limbo. Even after doing it for so long, I feel like it's a forever thing. It's just part of the job. That's
scary.
It is. But I think it also, in a weird way, personally keeps you on your toes in a good way and not in a good way, where you're like, your brain's always moving. So you're always doing something. So you're never bored. You can't go to a new place without thinking of, that is something I used to draw. You can't listen to a conversation without, at least for me, that is the way it is. Trying to take away time to do things that are a little more scary, which is out of the norm of doing, say, product. I can do 1,000 products now because it's just part of my job and my everyday. Also, maybe just doing completely off key, like, say, I don't know, drawing in a different style. I don't have fussy time. And also I'll be like, I don't know how people are going to like this. But before I literally started off my career as that, drawing in weird ways. But yeah, how about you?
Definitely the thing you said, leaving social media. I just one day want to delete that account. Everyone's like, where did they go? Where is she? Just like, no, just like get like disappear and then just like drop zines once in a while. Like,
that would be amazing.
Then I thought about doing this, and then I was like, maybe I should make a website, and then I can delete it, and then like have people like reach out to me via website. But then I have to make a website.
I've just started doing it. I mean, almost done, but it's like not okay.
I just can't, like, if it was someone else's, I feel like I could design it really quick.
Easy, yeah.
And because it's mine, I just can't like put my like hand down on what it is I exactly want. So that's this. So no leaving Instagram, because that's where I get most of my work.
You want to leave Instagram? I meant just doing different things.
Oh no, I want to delete it.
Oh, wow.
I want to not be like, I want anyone to find me.
I love it though.
Yeah, I just want to, like, because people don't like social media nowadays. It has so much power over you, and like this, it's so capitalistic. Everything about social media is to sell things to people.
Right.
Like, as an activist, this is not the platform where you reach out to people, because this, what you're making isn't even reaching them, because Instagram is for selling things. It's not for activists or artists.
Do you not feel like it's also community? I feel like I get definitely community.
It is, but I feel like it gets so mixed up, like muddled and dirtied with like the way social media is designed.
Yeah.
What goes viral,
yeah.
what sells, is also very like mainstream, streamlined.
It is.
There is a certain checklist of what will work. you know, and I have understood that whatever it is I am doing and who I am is not checking those lists.
Yeah.
It's the whole Audre Lorde. The capitalist tools will not, like the master's tool will not help you break down the master's house. Is that what I believe? And that end of the day, if we truly want to move towards like some sort of liberation, in many ways we have to move away from social media, is what I believe. I don't think there's something not afraid to, but maybe like moving out of my comfort levels would be doing different, like learning to do like brand design. There's something I'm trying out.
Okay, I think you'd be amazing at that.
Like I'm trying out like a project. I'm doing like a kombucha rebranding.
Ooh,
So I'm
okay,
just, like,
amazing.
like,
Okay.
I'm interested to see how I do well with it, like, because it's not something I've done before. So I think I would want to try more like things that are out of my comfort level, or like paint a mural on a wall.
Oh, you'd be amazing at that.
I feel like I don't really paint like that. Like my back will hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's on my list of things to do, by the way.
Another
Paint.
thing I'm afraid, not that afraid, but like I'm like, oh, might have consequences. Completely alienate my audience.
What?
Make things they don't understand at all, which only resonate only to me. I wanna put a stick in people's expectations of me. Is what I want to do.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Okay. Okay. Last one. What's one thing that you wish you had the ability to illustrate but struggle to? Cars.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh, I hate
drawing
cars. I can draw one type of car. My son is very disappointed in me, but I can draw one usual car and make it three-dimensional, and that's the most. I kind of now do a truck now because I have to draw it 1,000 times for my son.
Right, but you're so
That's
right.
it, too.
Like,
Yeah,
drawing
maybe a bus at the
vehicles,
most. Yeah, vehicles is hard.
It's not fun also. Like it's a lot of like lines and then the detail.
You know what's the worst or the hardest for me? Motorcycle.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
my goodness. There's so much detail in the middle, but how much do you remove so that it looks like a motorcycle?
But it's not.
It's still, so it doesn't look like a wonky skeleton motorcycle.
Yeah, no, I feel what you're saying.
I don't feel like I still know how to do it.
People might not know because they are not artists. But I am getting what you're
You
saying.
get what I say.
Yes.
This is an internal trade secret.
People are like, can't draw hands, but it's actually the bikes they
It is
can't draw.
You mean vehicles? All of them. All of them. Yeah. Minus the one car, the box car, which everyone learns as a child.
Yes.
And you do till today. But if you're a cartoonist, you can say this is normal. That's the trick of the trade.
Yeah, actually, everything is like, this is my style. It was so great meeting you, and I'm such a huge fan.
But thank you so much. Oh my god, I'm so glad today happened.
Yes.
Really. Can I give you a hug?
Yes.